One of the things we wanted to discuss with you actually is the confusion that I think there is over the extent of US involvement in this genocide in Gaza, which I think there's a real gross underestimation of the role that the United States is playing. We at Global Majority for Peace podcast characterize what is happening as a US-Israeli genocide, because basically without the full support and funding of the United States, Israel wouldn't be in any position to perpetrate the crimes against humanity that it is doing right now on a daily basis. So I was wondering if you could talk us through the extent of the US's political, military, and diplomatic support for Israel.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Israel could not do what it's doing without the full diplomatic and military backing of the United States. And it's looked like a couple things. There's, of course, the obvious and hard military support that everyone hears about. So there's the annual $3.8 billion that we give to Israel. And that money is to buy weapons from us, but also from themselves, like from Israeli weapons companies. So that's annual. That's every year. We give them Iron Dome funding every year, and we also send them millions and billions of dollars of weapons. Most of the fighter jets and the bombs that have been flying over and dropping on Gaza have been made in the US by companies like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and all the big US weapons companies. So we have been sending them bombs. At some point, I think Biden suspended the bigger ones, and now they're sending them again. And when families in Gaza are sifting through the rubble to find their family members, they are picking up shrapnel that says made in the USA. So the people of Gaza are fully aware of who is committing these crimes against them, and it is not just Israel. So there's like the obvious military support. I think I just found out last week actually that the Illinois National Guard and a few other National Guards that are supposed to be directed by the governors and like in response to natural disasters and that kind of thing got deployed to the Middle East, which is crazy. And then there's the diplomatic and political support, which looks like a few different things. And I think one of the most egregious examples is how the US has treated the International Court of Justice's rulings on both the ongoing genocide in Gaza and the settlements in the West Bank. So back in, gosh, I don't know, May or June, when the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, announced that they were issuing arrest warrants for Netanyahu and Ben-Gvir, some of the politicians in the US and Congress and Biden made these sort of vague threats to sanction ICJ members. There was going to be a bill in Congress to sanction ICJ members. And it was just a pure act of intimidation against the highest international court that was trying to hold Israel to account for what it's doing. For at that point had killed 30,000 people. And that's a gross underestimation of the death toll. And then more recently, the ICC or ICJ, I'm not sure which one, did say that Israel's an apartheid state, the settlements are illegal, and they need to close down the settlements. And the US was very quick to say that the ICJ should not issue that ruling and that Israel should not be ordered to get rid of the settlements in the West Bank. And right after that happened, Israel started carrying out the largest military operation in the West Bank in years. They've already killed 24 people since then. So it's just this cycle and of the US drawing a fake red line, which was in May, the invasion of Rafah, which obviously was not the real red line. And then they said, as long as they don't do anything in the West Bank, because this war is against Hamas, Hamas isn't in the West Bank, and now Israel's invading the West Bank too. And that isn't even the red line. We are still sending weapons. We are still doing diplomatic cover. We, as I mean the US. And we still have cut aid to UNRWA, the largest institution that carries out the humanitarian aid for Palestinians, not just in the Gaza, but in the West Bank and in Jordan and everywhere in the world where there are displaced Palestinians. So it's looked like a ton of different ways, but I think the thing that people don't understand is that when the US draws this fake red line and says if Israel crosses it, that's when we're doing something about it, and then they go back on their word, I think that's just, it's clear as day that the US isn't just a partner of Israel, it's a complete collaborator in this genocide.